Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. And this is a day in the office for January 19th, 2026, starting at approximately 3:22 p.m. PST. Now, I will be on until 5 o'clock p.m. So, drop in, say hi. If you've got questions, pretty much on any topic, just ask. I'm just puttering around in the office, getting things sorted around. Now, I was asked by my wife, to let you know I will be on tonight, or more to the point, she will be on tonight with me for Positive Perceptions at 8 p.m. PST. Okay, right now, to be frank, she's working on immigration paperwork so we can get her moved up here permanently. We're already married, that's going well. Now, what do I got here? Like I said, I'm just putting around the office, getting things done. But one of the biggest factors when you're looking at getting an office running properly, you have to make certain that you've got things being handled in the right order. Did I? I did. Okay, well, that goes that way. Now, what is all this stuff? That's paperwork I gotta go through and see what it is. Now, where am I here? That I just don't require. It is amazing how much garbage I actually see posted that is of an absolutely negative nature. You know, I went out, I went out today. I just placed the order. Think, then speak. I just placed the order today for a new book a new little booklet I've got coming out. Believe in your success and follow your dreams. You know, and we discovered something rather remarkable. Computers work incredibly oddly for me. Susan, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And you're actually in with the gold today. You know, I make certain that I'm here for 4 o'clock. I do run until 5. But sometimes, like, I got everything else done. So I figured I might just as well get things organized and get them moving in the right order. What is this? You know, so it boils down to an issue of making certain that my office is running properly. So we take that. And now, I don't know about you. You know, the reality is this. When you're going to run an office, the office for me is literally wherever you're set up to handle your finances, to handle to handle finances, to handle your planning, this sort of thing. It's absolutely imperative that your office is running smoothly. Cowie, how are we doing? Glad you could join us. And you are in with the silver. I do not have an actual plan I did bring that. I don't actually have a scheduled plan here because I'm literally just getting my office running properly. What is this? Okay, require that. Only need one of those. Fact of the matter is, if you're going to operate your life, now bear in mind, your business is literally your home life is literally, in my opinion, the most important business you'll ever run. It is absolutely crucial that you realize that however you're running your home will reflect directly on your success level. Yes, I get up and move around. That just happens to be the way things work for me. And what have we got there? All kinds of neat little things I don't necessarily want to leave. What's that? I got files all over the place I'm still striving to sort through. But making certain that the office is running smoothly is of critical nature. Or is of a critical nature, I guess is the best way to put that. What are these? I think I can get rid of this. What is this? Oh, look, I took a course way back in 2012, it turns out, for parenting after divorce. I didn't even know I had that one. Don't think I actually require it, but what the heck. And we got somebody else in here, I think. No, that's Callie. So I actually don't have a lot planned for today. I literally am looking at it going, my office has to be organized. Because if somebody's office isn't organized, you have a massive problem on your hands. What is this? This paper that I'm bringing down is stuff that I don't require. Like, it's sitting up, it was sitting in files, and I'm literally looking at it going, why did I hang on to it? So this stuff, flip that. Oh, well, that's kind of a necessary thing. This is some of the odd things I end up packing. A recipe for apple crisp. So that'll get moved up front. What's this? Oh, this was all information based on, like, I looked into it decades back into how to brand. Now, the reality of it is that it didn't do me any good. They were absolutely useless to me, much like most things. So, this information now becomes simply scratch paper that I can work with. That is... Oh, look at that. Let's check my one box to make certain I've got that. See, one of the biggest things I look at is, because I've got such a wide array of background, I look at it going, well, what do we do with it? What can we actually do with this, and how can we work with it? Where are we now? Mario. Whoop. Oh. That's interesting. So I'll have to take a look at that. So don't know what I'm doing with that just yet. Yes, I do. Okay. The fact of the matter is that if I'd have had my brain working when I started all this, I'd be a lot more organized. But since I didn't, I'm working with what I got. Rest assured, it is a lot easier to turn around and actually get things organized at the get-go. This is one of those things that you have to really take a look at and go, what am I aiming at accomplishing? So right now we get the thing is, from my standpoint, once you get things organized, you got to remember, everything starts in the spiritual world. It all starts up here. Whether you call that your higher self, your God source, your instincts, your intuition, whatever. Call it peanut butter for all that matters to me. It all starts up here, the initial thinking. Okay, then it hits the brain. Now, the brain is split essentially in two. You've got your emotional drive and your logical drive. Which one gets hit first doesn't matter. But the reality is, both of them have to be unified. In other words, the old saying that I run with: when your heart can believe it, when your heart can believe it, well, no. When your mind can conceive it and your heart can believe it, you can achieve it. Okay, I run with that because it works. So whether you get this instinct or this drive that says, I gotta change things, I gotta make things happen, whether that is a feeling you've gotta do, or you look at your office and go, this is a disaster. Okay. Either one will work quite nicely. Okay. Once they are both aligned, you can accomplish almost anything. Okay. I mean, there are limits. But one thing you can certainly attain is success. Yes, I saw that pop. I just can't read it without my glasses. Operation, how you doing? Exactly, Operation. Thanks for making that a whole lot more direct, if you will. See, the thing is, I finally came to the conclusion when I did my P&L for Inner Voice for last year. I found out I am definitively generating an income. Now, I do not, my stream here is not monetized. Okay, because we only have. Actually, I gotta go find that out, don't I? Go there, and we'll just pop this up and take a look again. Pop that up. My live stream is there. That works out. This one will tell me how much you've actually got. Okay. Let's get that sorted out. The funny thing is, I've got it designed for next year. That there we are. I've got 714 subscribers right now. Now YouTube says I'm not monetized, and I'm not making any money off of YouTube. On the other hand, it has been directly because of YouTube Stream and the buymeacoffee.com link, which is at the top of this stream, that I literally last year made an additional $3,000. Now, so to me, this is monetized. But it's monetized by direct effort on my part. Now, with that in mind, I'm going to continue changing things and improving what I'm working with. Because the fact of the matter is, money cannot be the primary goal. Well, it can be, but it doesn't work well. Okay. What is that, Mario? If you make money your primary drive, you're going to always be behind the 8 ball. I look at it going, how am I going to make my life run better? And the best way I can do that is by going, I'm no longer going to, I will concern myself with money, but I'm not going to concern myself with whether it's done the way everybody else says it should be done. Because I found that other people's opinion on that doesn't work well for me. Okay, that's garbage. Oh, who is this? Way back in. Oh, okay. That was way back in 07. So that's good. We'll keep that for files for later because it's necessary. Well, I'm just pulling things apart here to make certain that I no longer have the same conflicts that I've had in the past. The reality is there's a saying that goes, those that don't know history are doomed to repeat it, which is true. Problem is, those that dwell on history have exactly the same complications. So what I'm doing at this point is looking at it going, okay, what do I do from here? Now, exactly how do I avoid making the same mistakes that I've made in the past? What is this? Obviously, it's a disc, but that's a decade-old disc. This one. Hmm. This was for what year? Does not tell me the year, so it is. I don't think it's like the year. No, because it doesn't tell me the year, it goes. Primarily because there's not much point in hanging on to things that don't have a specific point. You know, I have found way too often that the stuff that I've hung on to things I don't have a date for. So I don't know when they were acquired, or for that matter, what to do with them now. Now this form here is what? Here we are. Like I said, I'm just going through it. Boy, is this ever old. Now, what is this? Well, that was pretty. This is an old newspaper article that I had from way back when I was a kid. So it will be hung on to, as will that. This, on the other hand, is garbage. So all I'm doing is picking files I don't require. And, I got thinking about it. Yes, I could make things more lively, but the reality is this. When you're in the process of changing your life for what you consider the better, is a drawn out process. It is not something that happens overnight. Let's face it, it didn't happen overnight that you got into whatever mess you're in or whatever state you're in. So it's going to take a little bit of time to get it reorganized. To make certain that you're on the right track. So I pull out what is that? So now I'm finally going through files that I don't require. Back go. Now, how long ago was that? Oh, look at that. Well, we did discover that I do have to turn around and make sure that I keep everything in order for some stuff. That file I just grabbed there, and I don't have to keep them this long, but I seem to have a penchant for hanging on to certain things. That is 2024. Let me see what this one was. 2022, okay. So it was 2022. And this one here, oh, that's not even mine. Okay. I'll have to talk to him. He doesn't actually require it, so that's his call. This sketch pad and papers and what have you. All poetry that I've got to look through and take a look at, figure out what to do with. Probably going to end up getting posted at some point. But for the moment, I'm literally looking at things going, what have I got here that I don't actually require? This stuff, for instance, what is that? Oh, I like that picture. Now, this one. Okay. I think I'm going to copy this if I can figure out where it is. Now, I think what I'll do is just relay it, but this is from like back in the 60s in all likelihood. Different chores. This is just some of the stuff I held on to. Kelowna Child Care Society. I wonder what year. Which is ultimately the question. Oh, there we go. This is from 20 years ago. Okay. But in all fairness, kids haven't changed that much. Not in their ability. Couple ideas. I'm just going to read what it says here. Okay. This was handed out by the Kelowna Child Care Society way back in 1999. A lot of people, especially my age, it seems, talk about the fact that kids aren't active in doing things. So, grab a piece of paper, guys, because I'm just going to read this as is. Okay, here's a rundown of age-appropriate chores kids can handle. At 2 years old, sort clothes by color. Wipe up small spills. Stir cake batter or tear lettuce. Water plants with a small watering container. And dust with a cloth. And pick up toys with help. Okay, now this is for all you people that have new kids on the way or you're thinking of it, or even if you've got grandkids and you'd like them to do something to help. 3 to 4 year olds, they can wash vegetables, unpack simple groceries, they can put dirty clothes in the hamper and clean clothes in the closet. They can set the table with plates, cutlery, and napkins. They can sort recyclables into appropriate bins, and they can help wash the car. Rest assured, at 3 to 4 years old, the odds are they're going to be pretty damp. But that's not going to kill them. That's just the reality of it. These are things that are, in most people's cases, pretty common sense. Okay. Now, what do we got here? Okay. When they get to be 5 to 6 years old, okay, get them to make their own bed. Give the pets food and water. Pick up the mail. Okay, now that doesn't mean go down to the mailbox. Okay, that means mail. This is probably when mail was being popped through to the front door. Through a slot in the front door. Some of you will remember this. Pour drinks into glasses. Pull weeds in the garden. Set and clear the table. No sharp knives, though. I don't know. We played with sharp knives. Well, that's not necessarily a good thing. Okay. And put it in the dishwasher. Also help wash the dog. When they get to be 7 to 9 years old, get them to take out the garbage, rake the leaves, help with the grocery shopping, pick out clothes for the next day for them and for they themselves to wear, and make their own lunch for school. This is not major problems, but so many people don't even teach the kids this much, that much. And then wonder why they have trouble getting things organized. When they get to be 10 to 12 years old, you get them to vacuum, do a load of laundry, make simple meals and baking. Take care of neighbor's pet and watering plants. Again, teaching them responsibility. And I am just trying to separate the page. There we are. Bunch of different little items and what have you. Most of which I am not going to worry about. Okay, but those chores, so many people I talk to, well, we don't, we've got a kid and we're tired of picking up after them. Well, there's no problem there. Get them to pick up after themselves. The reality is, kids on the whole, and for that matter, even when I was dealing with challenged teenagers, okay, kids on the whole have a real desire to actually be self-productive. Not that, so yeah, these are things that I'm just not going to worry about. They are things that kids could use, yes. Oh, what is this? Silly putty. This is a recipe for it. Of course, I'm only reading them off. Here we go. For Elmer's glue all and liquid starch to make silly putty. I don't even know if you can get liquid starch anymore. What do we got? Yeah, these are neat little things that. Where are we? That's how to make cooked Play-Doh. Interesting idea. Flour, water, food coloring, cream of tartar, oil, salt, and tempera paint. Okay, yeah, we're not going down that road. I was just seeing if it was something that maybe is some use. And like I said, I've read these lists off. I'm not hanging on to the list, but it's right here, and it's now recorded, and will remain digital until somebody wipes it out. I'm not planning on wiping it out, but that can go the way of the dodo bird. Now, I'm just pulling this stuff out one piece at a time, because that way I can actually eliminate the junk I don't require. I've got a lot of that around. I've spent 60 years as a professional pack rat. Okay, that, by the way, has its own drawbacks. Now, this would seem to be a star map. It is. This is an old star map, which, in case you couldn't tell, well, you really can't. It's about as old as the hills and twice as dusty. And it's German just to make matters worse. Which means I can't even tell what star it is. Well, some of them I can. As in the Big Dipper, the Little Dipper, this sort of thing. But this is all in German. Which means it's going the way of the dodo bird. That can go there, that can go there. You see, I am actually getting through this stuff. What's that? Hey, bonus. We have a... This is what I used to use before computers came along. And this little book here is not required. There we are. Now that book I can hang on to, because that one has a, that particular book is simply a 3-column ledger. Now most of you won't even have a clue what that is in all likelihood. But these are just things that I've had lying around. And like I said, a day in the office really boils down to my eliminating the junk that I don't require and opening doors up. So if people have a question in virtually any topic, I got way too many topics that I seem to have information on. So I just don't look at it and go, "Oh, I'm an expert in anything." I like the way my older brother used to put it. An expert is simply an unknown grip under pressure. And it does seem to apply when you start realizing that so many people claim to be experts, and I listen to what they're spouting, and I'm going like, how can you possibly claim to be an expert at that point? I'm no expert. I'm barely functional being me. What is this? Oh, and again, we have stuff that is absolutely held on to that I never should have hung on to. As in a small to-do list from 2023. Those go there. Who is this? Or what is it? That's garbage. And this, on the other hand, is a notebook that is essentially scrap paper at this point. Joe, how are you doing? Glad you could join us. I'm actually amazed. We're almost 4 o'clock. I've actually been on for about 40 minutes at this point. Nope, about 30. But I figured I had stuff to do, so I'd come back here and see what I could do about eliminating some of the garbage I've got. It's funny, Joe. I actually set things up here. Where are everything? I actually set things up to ensure that you could come on, because I know it's too late for you for positive perceptions. So again, Joe, if you do have questions, this is definitely the time to do it. This I haven't had in a decade, I don't think. Nope. Oh, that's French. That doesn't help. This is not dated, so it can go the way of the dodo bird. This won't matter at all. There we go. And I'm going through this stuff, and it is being eliminated, which is a good thing. What was that? Sorry, had to step out of sight. Because I came to the conclusion most of the stuff I've got is really useful. Man. Yeah, all of this stuff is definitely overrated. Okay. What do we got here? This is why I call day in the office, because I'm literally just puttering around in the office doing what I have to. But this is old stuff, and we are talking stuff that is, well, in all likelihood, decades old. And since none of it has a date on it, and it's from files I haven't been into in Lord knows how long, I'm just simply utilizing it instead of throwing what is potentially usable scrap paper. I simply keep the stuff I can write on, and that way, because I'm still a dinosaur. Yeah, here's paperwork from bank from 8 years ago. This stuff is so outdated, it's insane. So, put that there. And again, this is probably yep. This is all information that is definitely stale dated. So it can go there. And look, I was at one point looking at taking credit cards. But that has gone the way of the Dollarbird. Port card for who? Oh, okay. Those get hung on to. And look at that. I'm actually kind of surprised. Where I am, I just want to see what I've got here. On this one, take that, we refresh it. Now I have started letting people know, yes, I will be on at this point. Okay, there we are. January 19th, and that shows what we got going on there. Okay, go back to the stream where I can see it. There we are. You know, I'm literally just going through stuff and pulling it out of the way to dispose of it where possible. I don't think that's going to be a much use to anybody, but since it's not mine, I will double check with the kids. You know, some of this paperwork I've got like this. Addressing labels that will no longer work. We can safely say that. So that, because these are blank, but the systems seem to make them now, I think, are pretty much gone. That gets stored, that can be used for labels, but the actual labels themselves can't be used the way they work. And this is paperwork from my childhood, certainly doesn't get gotten rid of. Whoops, not that one. Okay, here we have, oh, look at this, an air miles form. From when? Oh, this is when I got me an new air miles card. Don't require it, because that's from ages back. You know, this is the thing. I have been a professional procrastinator for 90% of my life. In other words, never do today what you can put off. Now, this 2023, I don't need to worry about. But because of the fact that I'm a firm believer that that when you're looking at this stuff, kind of important to realize if it's not required, it might be time to get rid of it. That is from, yeah. These are just old bills there, like it was paying and what have you, but I've got them out of the way. Again, this boils down to an issue of looking at your paperwork and going, is there a reason to hang on to it? If there is, then certainly do. In this case, I've got sheets that are blank. You know, the back end of them is blank. So, can they be used for scratch paper? Certainly. The ones that are not blank, you just get rid of. What is that? Way back in... That is an excellent question. Doesn't tell me the year. But probably tells me the year. Well, we'll just dispose of that. What do we got? There we are. Yo, this is literally the process, just one step at a time, of eliminating things. Because the more you can get rid of, the less of the old energy you hang on to. That is why I'm looking at things here going, I no longer require it. But at the same time I'm doing that, I'm also making certain that I handle the information properly. Now, here's the neat part. Oh, that ain't going to work well. And this here, I think this is part of something else I did want to go into. Here we are. Joe, just saying, as far as dreams go, you said something once about consent. What was it, if you remember? Okay, where it comes to dreams, okay, yeah, when you're talking about dreams, it's a question of whether you're looking into somebody. I believe, if I recall correctly, you were looking at dreams that other people were having as well. And I said, in order to do that properly, you must get consent from the individual whose dream you're looking at analyzing. You know, karmic law is pretty cut and dried on that. If you are looking into doing a little bit of research on somebody else, which is really what it boils down to when you're interpreting somebody else's dream, make absolutely certain that they know you're doing it and are okay with it. Okay, there's not a lot you can do with a dream that can hurt anybody, but there is this issue that you still have to have permission. And I know there's a lot of people that will tell you, no, you don't. I'm not one of those people. You know, the reality I live in says this: do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. You know, if you're looking at, where are we here? You know, if you're looking at interpreting somebody else's dream, it's absolutely necessary that you turn around and get their permission to do so. You know, what is this? This is a design for something. I'm trying to remember what this was. It actually doesn't tell me. Spike in the bottom of the thing. I'm not sure what this was for. And since I'm not, oh, I know why I hung on to it. I don't know what Dad was trying to do. But this is the last architectural sketch that my father made, or one of the last ones he made before he passed. But I don't honestly know what he was making. With that in mind, what is that? Silicone coupling. I don't even know what that is. So I'll show that to a buddy of mine, see what he has to say. Oh, well, I certainly know what that is. That is from the Ilderbachtian Chronicle. And all that information is up front. So again, you know, but that ultimately, Joe, is what I was referring to, I suspect, is the fact that when you're looking at other people's dreams, you are essentially researching them. And it is wise at that point to get permission to do so. I do believe, who sent this to me? Oh, this is information that is absolutely useless to me. So, I'll just dispose of it as scrap. This stuff here, we pop in as recycling, and that cuts down on the amount of garbage I've got floating around here. Like I said, it really boils down to I've hung on to stuff for way too long, and it's time to dispose of it. The other thing you got to look at, there is something called visualization. Now, I've talked to you guys about a dream board or about a task list, and that's still very much whole. Because the reality is, with a task list, you break your task down into 15-minute to half-hour tasks. This will enable you to finish it, to get them done, and actually rack things off. You do not believe how long this paperwork has been sitting here, which is why I'm pulling it apart at this point. One thing that I did discover is if you keep putting things off like I have, you get very little accomplished. Not necessarily a good way of handling things. Now, of course, we go to this. I'm just pulling them down one piece at a time because, well, frankly, it enables me to keep things organized. This okay, that was all structured somewhere. Huh. Stuff that was done for believing in yourself and following your dreams. This was an old letter I wrote to somebody. It was a business letter, in all fairness, but I don't require it anymore. Because I'm certainly not going to know who she was. She certainly won't remember me. That's from 25, 30 years ago. That gets kept, that's for certain. This is a magnifying plastic sheet. Look how well that works. Not bad, really. What does that from? Certified specialist in orthodontics for who? 10. No, from what year? Year 97. Yeah, somehow I don't think he's going to want that. But I'll ask him anyway. That came from Cameron when? Cameron being my youngest son. Some stuff I don't get rid of because it just keepsakes and what have you. Now this. My own yard. Oh, look at that. That is calculations and what have you. No idea who it's for, but I do know it's useful. Or maybe, in this case, when I say maybe, I'm just getting into certain calculations. Might be an idea to refresh my memory on how to do it. We are sitting right now at 411. Not bad. Okay. But I managed to get a fair chunk moved out of the way that I don't require. This little bank here. I wonder if this has any information in it, or money for that matter. Should take a look at that one afterwards. But that boils down to trying to find an old file. Now this sketches. This is my own artwork. By the way, I'm not what I would call a qualified artist. Although I've seen some people that make my drawing look absolutely phenomenal. What's this? Okay, don't require that from when? 2022, we can safely say that's garbage. Oh, 2010. Oh yeah, that was a neat little dream I had. These are terrible sketches, but then they are from decades back. Oh, and look at that. Now there is a relic. This is actually, let me see. I don't know how old this thing is, but this is way back when I was working on the original stuff for Elderbach. So that goes up there. And we have here, what do we got there? Yeah, and that looking at that, Joe, dreams can absolutely cause that kind of overload. And sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes not so much. But with the length of time you've been working with things, you can bet your bottom dollar that it's actually a good setup. What is this? That's artwork and what have you. I'll just file that over here to go through afterwards. But no, sometimes people can have a dream where you wake up in the morning and you wake yourself up laughing, which is kind of comical when you think about it. So you end up, waking yourself up laughing, which, by the way, way better feeling if you wake yourself up laughing than if you wake yourself up crying. Hmm. These are from way back when. 2020? That's cute. These can all go the way of Bilderberg. Okay. This is apparently big. This stuff, therefore, can go the way of Bilderberg. Because I don't require it. I'm actually making really good headway on this. What's that? Open this up, we go back here to income tax. Pop it in there, because I'm going to be filing all that together. But continue. Then we look at these. Files. Hey, does this have what I needed? That would be so trippy. Whoa. Yeah, feel free, Joe, if you do have a question in that regard, absolutely do. You know, the reality is, I've been looking at people's dreams and side effects since I was, well, frankly, I started doing that when I was 5. Those are songs, but they're not the ones I'm looking for. These are not the songs you're looking for. That I've got elsewhere, but I do want to track them down. So, you take that, and it goes up front to the Elderbach files I'm working on the front desk. You know, on the front table. It's funny, I've worked out things. Next year, I will end up, in 2027, I will be opening I will be moving my office into a much larger area. And I was thinking, you know, I have laid out almost 25 feet of desktop. I had to move my paperwork up to work on Elderbach, and it covers 18 square feet, almost 20. That is for Elderbach. So again, these are files I'm looking at going, do I have any use for them? That's garbage, which makes this garbage. Like I said, this is the question. I figured I was in here. I might just as well eliminate the stuff I don't require. This gives me the layout. Because what I'm thinking, and what do you think, guys? You know, I'm looking at this. I set up a transformational workshop years ago. Do I have any platform for it? It was a cute thought. It didn't work out all that well. Do I actually have to have this? Well, have to, no. That information can be usable for what I'm working on. That's notes that I can actually put to use. This, on the other hand, not so much. And that makes this file folder useless. Then we look at this one. Writing, what does it have? As you can see, I do a lot of what? Oh, cannot read. I love my eyes right now. Not really. How we doing? And I'm not. I know I've seen you before, but I'm not entirely certain who you are. Okay, but how you doing, Aaron? Where are we? Aaron Kalayan is what I'm looking at, but I'm not entirely certain who you are. However, that really is almost irrelevant. Welcome aboard. Glad you could join us. It's quiet around here because, well, this is just me puttering around, and it does leave people the ability to get to me. If you're trying to track me down. Okay. Mountain Lake, written back in 2008. Do you want to take a look at that? Because that might be a short story I was working on. We put that over there. And let's see. Take that. Glue goes in there. It'll stop it from falling over a little further. And this particular little file folder. What do we got? Um. Oh, okay. The problem there, Aaron, is I'm glad to see you again. My problem is I'm working on a very small monitor, and my eyesight, I hate to admit it in a sense, is slowly failing. So I've already got a schedule for sometime in February. I'll be getting my new glasses. What are we here? Oh, I do believe. Yes, this one marked transfers is old dreams I was dealing with that I was helping another individual deal with. I just didn't realize I had copies of them. So I'm looking at these. Don't know what I'm going to do with them just yet. They'll probably end up filed for a moment, but a lot of this stuff is just getting tossed. I.e., here's a couple of tools I've got here. Oh, absolutely. The reality is, I putter around here, and if somebody says something, I do my best there, Aaron, to actually respond to it. The fact is, I'm not great at it. Well, I am. I putter and do things all the time. Oh, that's why I've got those as tools. So those tools can be filed in my filing cabinet here because they are metaphysical tools I do have to look at. So we open this up and they go right here, getting them off my bookshelf so I can actually work with them. Kind of a necessary odds and ends. But I am not so slowly anymore cutting through this mess. Fact of the matter is, these are all maps that I write with. And they give me a layout I can work with. Now, if we go, where is M? Whoop, that's all mine. Okay. So those are all physical maps. But in order to make them work properly, now, that hurt a lot. Those are physical maps that I use for the purpose of creative writing. Jumping. Giving. Mind settling in. There. That's what I wanted. That worked nicely. Okay. Pull back here. If I sit down, I can actually see what's written. How you doing, Woo? Glad you could join us. We are still here for another half hour, roughly. I trust your day has been going well. You know, I've gotten a lot of stuff out of the way that I had to. Still working on some of it. But this is stuff that had to go in order to make things happen. And I did not write this down. So I don't even know what this one is for. Bad idea. Written back in 98. So I'm betting this is Mr. Dreamcatcher. But since I don't know what it is, it makes it a little difficult to figure out what to do with it. This one, on the other hand, no. I don't actually require this anymore. Because this is one of the earlier documents for Believe in Yourself. Oh, the short answer, Aaron, is this. I have fought depression most of my life, in spite of the fact that I run a live stream called Positive Perceptions and a free magazine called Positive Perspectives. The one thing I look at is when you take a look at depression, you go, okay, I can either buy into depression or I can turn around and go, I'm doing something, the best thing I ever found. Okay, depending on what's causing the depression. And you may not even know. But the best place I can suggest starting is take a look at your office, wherever you work on your finances, wherever you work on your thinking and your organizing. Make sure you clear that desk completely so that it is no longer a cluttered mess. Because I will tell you, the more clutter you have, the more depressed you're going to get. This is just a natural side effect. You know, it's not rocket science from that end. And you don't have to believe me. But the thing I do is I find I get caught into the idea of organizing things. You know, and making certain that I can get them and that I have things where I can find them. It does seriously cut down on the amount of depression that you fight. Okay, organizing some, but doing it in small parts. Even if you've got a massive project, okay, break it down into tasks that are 15 minutes to half an hour in length. And you will find, first and foremost, because you're getting something accomplished, it will counteract the feeling of depression. Okay, yeah. And again, let me ask you this, and you can answer it or not. Yeah. You organize your room, you'll find and I found this especially in my office and my bedroom are the same place right now. Organizing the office and thereby the bedroom has enabled me to sleep better. This again will help cut down on the anxiety. The other thing that works like an absolute charm, okay, the other thing that works like a charm, find the fastest paced dance music you can find. Okay. You know, crank and to fight depression, find the fastest dance based music you can find. Crank it as high as socially acceptable and let it run. Okay. Let it run in the background. The increased vibratory rate will bring you out of your anxiety and depression. And I know this for a certainty because I do it all the time. Where are we here? That's one of those neat little things that has to really get sorted around. As you can tell, I've got a staggering amount of paperwork that takes up a lot of room that doesn't really have to. Oh, what is this all about? Oh, that I got to talk to my accountant about when I finally get one. This, not nice. What is this? Interesting. The thing is, the busier you keep, the less the busier you keep while you are, um, yeah, yeah, absolutely. The fact of the matter is, when you keep yourself busy, okay, if it's in a productive fashion, it will help you avoid all kinds of annoyances. Now, what is this? This is probably, oh no, that is an interesting map. That one goes over there. Like I said, I spent a lot of time collecting old physical maps because I use them for writing, as in keeping things laid out. Maps. That was painful. Okay. If you're feeling like you're not getting anything accomplished, this is usually because you weren't planning it wasn't planned out properly to start with. Okay. But by keeping a record of the progress you're making, you can eliminate a lot of that concern. Now, this stuff looks like a lot of it is garbage. Oh. You know what that is, I just don't know what to do with it just yet. So, this is stuff I've got to back through and finish finally. I am making decent headway here. Now one of the things that I look at when you start talking about how do you get your head on straight, you sit down, and I literally sat down for a while and went, what am I accomplishing? What am I accomplishing? Or more to the point, what is it that I really desire to accomplish? Because I was not making headway. My last 3 years has been an absolute nightmare. Okay. I had something go south on me, and I let it wipe out all of my motivation. Not a good idea, by the way. Oh. Well, we know where that came from. That's from there. The fact of the matter is that when you look at the reality of things, okay, if you let the world get to you, and that's where you can run into the problem. Hey, Skip Malou, how we doing? I have not seen you in a very long time. Nice to see you around. I am now back. A day in the office is going to stay here. Okay. One of the reasons I was talking to my wife, and like I told her, one of the reasons for doing this, for running the day in the office, it puts me in the office organizing things for organizing things in a stable fashion. And what is this? This is all information. Where did I put my ID stuff? Not there. That stuff's still there. I ended up going through a lot of stuff going, what am I supposed to do with this? Okay. And I kept postponing putting it away. Oh, that was cute. I am laying on this had to be running. Nope, not in 2020. Brian, my older brother Brian, he passed away back in 2010. So this was certainly not his. Oh, Pennsylvania. I'm going to have to go through that. That's origami paper. So yeah, I'm working through this stuff. Much of it will end up put back up here. I'm pretty certain of it. Simply because of the fact I don't know what else to do with it for the moment. Whoop. Don't know what that was all about. Yeah. The nice part here is I got things coming together. I'm actually yanking the stuff out of the way and eliminating it. And some of this stuff is absolutely useless. Some of it not so much so. Uh-oh, what do I got? Trying to ignore the hacker. Yeah. See, the fact of the matter is, I don't have a lot of problem, and I look at the amount of idiots that I deal with. It's just amazing. I just cannot see how it could be that exciting to disrupt somebody else's life. I look at what I do here, and what I do here. I mean, granted, a day in the office is literally for me to focus on getting my world organized, not whether or not other people are. Okay, but when people come in like yourself, I will talk to you. I will give you what I can. But it's in positive perspective, in a day in the office here, and positive perspective, perception, where I run the live stream, where I will do things for absolutely nothing, for no other reason than to simply see what I can do to help people. Okay, now here's a game card, a discount card for a company that went bankrupt some 15 years ago. As you can tell, this is not necessarily conducive to keeping a clutter-free house. That's one of the biggest things I look at here. In my eyes, I used to look at life and go, I'm putting in time. But then in September, when I passed away again, I come out of it this time going, I know exactly what I'm doing here. Okay. Like I finally figured out I'm going to live. I'm going to figure out how to live. Okay. Not I'm going to figure out how to live and how to enjoy life, not just put in time. Recipes for juicers. I want to have a recipe there, so I can go up front. As you can see, I've still got a lot of junk that I don't require. What's that? This here, dehydrator. Kind of necessary when you think about it, in today's world especially. And this does not say anything. Oh, yeah. Well, I know how well that went. I'm just not going to open that can of worms. Now, where are we here? Oh, there we go. Ah, yeah. Speaking of which, I seem to remember you mentioning that a long time ago there, Skip. How is that book coming along? Are you getting close to getting it tied off? See, I made a similar commitment when my father with my father on his deathbed. I did give him my word I would read the Bible cover to cover. So I did. I finished it sometime last year. I'm currently in the middle of reading the Book of Mormon. Okay. What is this? How to make money? Hmm. That one belongs up here. Okay. Oh, there we are. That one goes there. I swore I told my dad I would read the cover of the Bible cover to cover. Now, I still see myself as I still see myself as a Christian, in as much as I believe in God, I believe in Christ. Okay. Am I going to take a look at that and go, I'm going to start touting the Bible? I'm going to start quoting the Bible? Not a snowball of prayer. There's a big problem with that. Number one, I don't have that good of a memory. Number two, I have discovered that what's written in the Bible is absolutely beautiful in a lot of ways, but it's something that has to be interpreted by the individual. And where are we? That is definitely a start, Skip. And unfortunately, especially when you're trying to figure something like that out, it can be a real challenge making headway. Mike, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Um, I was told to periodically pass on to people that that Kira, my wife, though she isn't here today, she's working up front on her music and on work as far as immigration goes. So, but she did say to let people know she will be on air tonight with positive perceptions. Okay, what is this? This is stuff from way back when, for more than point what for. Business card from a ways back. Hmm. Those are receipts I don't require. This, on the other hand, is what? Ah, kind of a necessary little file. Don't need these two. And since that sits there, yeah, Kara did tell me that she will be in tonight at 8 o'clock. From 8 to 9 on positive perceptions, and we will continue working forward from there. She did, however, and I was really happy for her. We went to an audition to get a gig at a local restaurant, and it looks pretty promising she's going to get it. We just have to go back and double check. Or he's going to phone her, I'm not sure which. Where are we? See. Look at that. Already got a file for that. Let me pop that there. And that isn't required. And neither is that. Doing not half bad here, really. Now I take what the heck is that? Oh, gotta be styrene. Yep. Pretty certain that's what that is. Oh. I'm not entirely certain what this is. Doesn't say on the back or the front. So I'm not 100% certain, so we'll leave it there. Because I want to get things back where they belong, as it were. But we take this, stand it that way. Then I can turn around. That's garbage. This stuff I can put back on that shelf. I've gone through it, but it's going to take more to sort it out than I thought. So now what I'm doing is literally just making certain that I get it organized properly. That stuff is for invoice, so I'll worry about that. That I've got to keep on. That goes up front. That's recycled. That's the kids. So that's not working out badly. Now, what am I looking at here? The neat thing about it is, much as it seems to be a little scattered, this is the way my brain works. Well, I suppose I should look at that. What are we at? We are at 450. So we take a look here. We are going to be looking at Monday. Oh, least on tonight during positive perceptions, we are going to be looking at rent or lease to own and 0% financing. Okay, because the reality is so many people miscalculate that and end up digging themselves into one heck of a crater because of it. I do feel I'm not a financial advisor. So when I come on tonight, we're going to look at numbers the way I look at them, not necessarily the way the financial advisor does. But, I'll get some calculations done before I get on here, so I can actually give you at least a modicum of understanding of what you're dealing with. Where am I here? Okay. Calculations for positive perceptions, in other words. I do write in my own form of shorthand because it works so much easier for me. I never took shorthand in school. But we are sitting at, oh, look at that. Now, I will be dealing with that tonight. The reality, just a heads up, is if you handle your finances right, you no longer have to worry about rent to own. Okay? You really don't. It's just a question of figuring out how to do it, which I'm going to go into in fair detail tonight, but not from the standpoint of rush out and get a loan. I'm actually going to tell you why you don't want it, or why it's ill-advised to get a loan. Okay, there's just way too many complications to come hand in hand with it. Those are licenses, so they should fit in there without any problem. Wonder if that showed up. Let's see. No new emails there. Took that and showed her. Okay. And let's just double check this one. Going into my email here, and it's got nothing. So that's good. Well, sort of. It means I don't have anything extra to work with. Now let's come back over to this. Look, there we are. In all fairness, Skip, I took a look at crypto years ago, and I found out one thing. Number one, I don't play with the stock market at all. Crypto to me is, yeah, there's a lot of people that talk about it and say it's a great thing. The reality for me is I've only ever made money in one fashion, where it comes to investments. And then they make very slow growth. Okay, and that's GICs. But at least I make money on them. But I will tell you what I did find out now, just about a week ago now. I actually did a profit and loss on my company and found out I'm actually doing things in the right order because I'm actually making money. As it turns out, at not a bad pace. This has to go to L. What is that? Certificates, copyright. Oh. Well, that's all completely backwards. Don't have a spot for it right now. Probably because I did something funny. If it's illegal. Well, given that their certificates, will pop me in there so I don't lose them. Now, the reality of it is, what I found is if you invest in yourself, if you invest in your own time, you can usually make a decent run at it. Where are we here? Nice. Yeah, and I do feel for you there, Skip. I do, and I don't tell people don't invest in the stock market. I personally won't touch it. Okay, I've lost too much. It's like I won't personally deal with another so-called professional marketer because it hasn't worked. I'm pretty certain I need more than $1.50 to buy gold, and that's about what I'm sitting on right now. But I do appreciate the heads up there, Skip. But we are down to the 5 minute to the 5 minute mark. I will be back again tonight. We're going to be looking at rent or lease to own, and 0% financing on positive perceptions. We'll be back here at 8:00 p.m. Pacific. But I want to say thanks so very much for sharing your time with me today, guys. Really appreciate it. Absolutely appreciate the support. And hopefully we'll see you again in the near future. With that in mind, until we talk again, Do take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.